Hello students, in today's session we will go for something somewhat the lighter side, and that is the poetry. So today I am here with the poem A Thing of Beauty by John Keats. So before going into the poetry, let us just have a common discussion. What is a thing of beauty? Because the definition of beauty that varies from person to person. And there is a saying that beauty lies in beholder's eyes. So that's why there is n number of definitions for a thing of beauty. But one thing you should remember, that a thing of beauty, that means it should leave an everlasting or a permanent image in your mind. And whenever you think about that one, you will feel happy, you will feel relaxed. So such things, whenever you think about that one, it should give you somewhat a solace, some peace of mind, some happiness, joy. So that is a thing of beauty. So in this poem, the poet John Keats, very beautifully he has defined what are the different things of beauty. So before proceeding to the poem, let us see about the poet who has written such a beautiful poem. John Keats was born in London in the year 1795 and died in Rome in 1821. He was a romantic poet, and his poetry is characterized by sensual imagery. In his most popular work, which is a series of odes, a lyrical poem which is meant for a particular subject. So students, means John Keats, Wordsworth, P.B. Shelley, so such poets and all, they just come under the romantic age. So what is the speciality of the romantic poets? Because these poets in their works, they reflect the nature, because they are very much close to the nature, and one can see that reflection in their work. So that's why they are characterized under the romantic poet. So in English literature, when you see, there is different ages are there. So likewise the Chaucer's age, second, that is a Shakespearean age, then the Milton's age, and the fourth one is the romantic age. So each and every age is having certain the writers, novelists, poets likewise. So this group of poets, they belong to that particular age, and that is the romantic age. It is somewhat that is in the 18th century in the beginning. So that's why these poets, they are characterized under the romantic poet. So now on the screen, students, you can see about the background of the poem. So this poem is an excerpt from Endymion, a poetic romance based on Greek mythology about a shepherd named Endymion who had a vision of Cynthia, the moon goddess. The enchanted youth resolved to seek her out, and so wandered away through the forest down under the sea. So that means what? What does the background says about this poem? So the background says that a shepherd was there, and he was just grazing the sheep in the forest, and in the meantime he just had a glimpse of the moon goddess Cynthia. So the moment he saw the moon goddess, he doesn't know that she is a moon goddess. So but he just started liking her, but after some time, as she is the moon goddess, she just vanished from the place. So this shepherd, he was in search of the Cynthia or the moon goddess. So as he was on in the search of her, so on the way, whatever the things he came across, whether it is trees, means sheep, and the small the watery areas or the wild flowers, so each and everything that he came across, which gave somewhat solace to his mind, or which gave some relaxation to him, all those things are characterized under the thing of beauty. So now students, we will just have a look at your textbook and we'll go for the poem. And as the poem, you know, in 12th standard almost all the poems, they are not in the format as you studied in the previous classes and all. So here also you will see that continuous, like a paragraph it is written over here. So that's why I just, according to my convenience, I just divided into 4 stanzas. So stanza wise we will go for the description. So a thing of beauty is a joy forever, its loveliness increases, it will never pass into nothingness, but will keep a bower quiet for us and sleep, full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. So here in this very few sentence, or in the very first sentence itself, you know, the poet is saying that a thing of beauty is a joy forever and its loveliness increases. That means what? With the passage of the time, a thing of beauty, that means what? As I told you in the previously, it leaves an everlasting impression on your mind, or it will stay with you forever. It is a permanent one. So that's why, you know, a thing of beauty, as it is a permanent one, as it stays in your imagination forever, so whenever you think about it, it just gives you happiness. It just means you feel very much joyous. So that's why it is called a thing of beauty. And with the passage of the time, you know, it will add more color to it. It will never pass into nothingness. That means what? A thing of beauty which is for you, that thing will remain as a beauty for you forever, even with the passage of the time. And the next, the poet says that a thing of beauty is like a quiet bower. For the bower, you know, the students, you can see it is what it is. It is a pleasant shady place under the trees. So that means what? Here the poet, he is just comparing the thing of beauty to a bower. He says that, you know, it serves as a bower for us, because whenever we just move into it, that is under the pleasant shade or the shade of the tree, we will have good sleep, and that too full of sweet dreams, and we also feel very healthy. So that's why a thing of beauty is always considered to be a joy forever. So in the first stanza, once again students, nothing more, simply it is written, a thing of beauty is considered to be a joy forever, and with the passage of the time it will never move into nothingness, rather our imagination adds color to it, and it serves as a quiet bower for us. So whenever you move into it, you will feel sleepy, that too with the sweet dreams. You will feel very pleasant under its shade. Now the second stanza, therefore on every morrow we are wreathing a flowery band to bind us to the earth, spite of despondence of the inhuman dread of noble natures of the gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and over darkened ways made for our searching. Yes, in spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away the power from the dark spirits. So up to here, as I told you, according to my convenience, I have divided it into different paragraphs, stanzas. So this is the second stanza. So in the second stanza, what the poet says that, he says that, therefore on every morrow we are wreathing a flowery band. So that means what? He says that as the human beings, you know, they are very much close to the nature, or we can see that there is a close bond between the human and the nature. And he says that it is the beauty alone which keeps us moving on in this earth. So the poet mean to say that it is the beauty which keeps us moving on this earth. And he says that how the beauty, it is like a band, it is like a flowery, a band which bind us together. So according to the poet, beauty is like a flowery band or a wreath which just encircle or which just cover the human beings. So here tomorrow it is written, that is a, you can see that is a new form, that is the following day. And on the other side, what the poet says, that in spite of despondence, students, just have a look on the word, that is a disheartened or the hopeless. So he says that in this world, the world is full of what? It is full of hopelessness, there is dejection, there is depression, and there is negativity which surround the human beings. And we also, all these things, make our life somewhat, or we can say that make our life very sad. And further the poet, he says that there is a shortage of noble natured person, because as this world is full of depression, dejection, negativity, and there is a shortage of noble nature, that is the people who are good at heart, or we can see that the people of the superior quality, they are not present here in this, or not present here in the sense that they are very less in number. And because of all these things, it makes our life become somewhat gloomy, and we are sometimes, we are just covered by the, or we are just over pondered by the evil things. So as a whole, what happens? Man is always surrounded by the some or the other gloominess, some or the other shortcomings, or the sadness. But what the poet mean to say, that he says that all this sadness, still we are just, despite of all the sadness, still we continue to live in this earth. Why? It is simply because of the thing of beauty, because the thing of beauty, it removes the cover or the cloud of the darkness from the human beings. So that's why poet says that a thing of beauty is a joy forever, as it removes the pall. That means what? That is the cloud of darkness, and because of which we people are living in this earth. So now students, we'll just go for the third stanza. Such the sun, the moon, the trees, old and young, sprouting a shady boon for a simple sheep, and such are the daffodils which are the green world they live in, and the clear rills that for themselves a cooling covert make against the hot season. The mid forest brake, rich with the sprinkling of fair musk rose blossoms. So up to here, the students, that is the third one, the third stanza. So in the third stanza, the poet, he says that, as the poet relates, or the poet says that we human beings are very much close to the nature, and moreover he also says that a thing of joy, it is a eternal source of happiness. So here he is just listing, or he is just enlisting the different things, which he categorized under the thing of beauty. So what are the things that the poet categorized here? So they are the sun, the moon, the trees, both young and the old trees. Why the young and the old trees are considered to be a thing of beauty? Because both the trees, whether the tree is young or the old, it provides shade, and under the shade the shepherds and the sheep, they feel relaxed. So anything which gives you somewhat relaxation, which pleases your soul or which pleases your mind, so that is called the thing of beauty. And along with he says that the daffodils with the green world they live in, and the clear rills that for themselves are cooling covered. So he says that in the forest, you know, even the daffodils, what is daffodils? It is a flower. So he says that whenever a person, so according to the poem, you know, the shepherd, when he was in search of Cynthia, he was just moving in the forest. So in the deep forest, he just came across some flowers. So all of a sudden, you know, just by having the look at those flowers, the daffodils, it gave some happiness to himself. So that's why that daffodil is also categorized under the a thing of beauty. So not only the daffodils, he says that even the small rills. What is a rills? Just to have a look at the word. Rill means it is a small streams, all the watery areas. So he says that, you know, in the forest, these small streams, it provide a cooling covert during the hot season, because, you know, in the forest means wherever the watery areas are there, that the side by area, it is always, you know, covered by the small the thickets, the bushes, the ferns, and it always remain a greenery. So whenever you cross that area, or whenever you just move by the side of it, you will have a feeling of a happiness, a somewhat solace, and that solace which pleases your heart, that is called the thing of beauty. So that's why he says that even the small rills which provide a cooling covert amidst the forest, that is also characterized under the thing of beauty. And moreover, what he says that in the forest, you know, as he walked, he came across many, that is a musk rose. So musk rose, it is somewhat a wild rose. So in the forest, you know, among the total the greenery in between in the thickets, you know, when musk rose, when he saw that the flowers, so that also gave some solace to his heart. So that's why that musk rose is also characterized under a thing of beauty. So students, in the third stanza, even the short question comes, what are the list or means the things which the poet categorized under the thing of beauty? That is the sun, the moon, the trees, both young and the old one, the daffodils, and the small rills, and forest break, and wild, or we can say that is the musk rose. So not only this thing, in the coming fourth paragraph stanza, you will just come to know about the other different things which he categorized under the thing of beauty. So up to here the three stanzas, I think so it is it might be clear for you, because in a very simple language I am just explaining. So finally students, the last stanza. And such too is the grandeur of the dooms we have imagined for the mighty dead, all lovely tales that we have heard or read, an endless fountain of immortal drink pouring unto us from the heaven's brink. So here for the grandeur, what mean grandeur? You just have a look at the word, that means it is simply a magnificent. And doomsday, all of you might be familiar, that is the last day of existence or the day of judgment. And here immortal, it means that is a living forever. So here in the poem, along with the immortal, the drink is given, and here that drink is the nectar which is expected to be pouring from the edge of the heaven. And heaven's brink, that is the door of the God's home, or we can say that the edge of the heaven. So these are the some of the new words that you came across in the last stanza. So students, well, you see that. So here in the last stanza, the poet says that you might have heard about all the lovely, the tales and the stories. He meant to say that all the lovely tales and the stories which you might have heard or read in your lifetime. About whom? About those people who had made markable or who left a markable impression in this world. Or we can say that all the stories which you might have heard or read about the magnificent people who sacrificed their life for a noble cause, and they made great achievements in their lifetime. And imagine whenever we read such poems and all, or whenever we just hear such stories and all, what we imagine. So these people are so great people, they have sacrificed their life for the welfare of the people, for some noble cause. So that means what? Yes, they might be in heaven. So that's why we just imagine they will be honored and worshipped for their remarkable achievements. But now what happened? These people are lying buried under the grave. And we people, whenever we read such stories and all, what happens? We just imagine that these people who are presently or who are lying buried under the grave now, on the day of judgment, that is on the doomsday, they will be rewarded for the sacrifices, or they will be rewarded for their noble cause or for their achievements which they made in their lifetime. And finally, the poet once again, he compares the thing of beauty to a immortal drink. So he says that what is the thing of beauty? The thing of beauty, according to poet, it doesn't have any limitations. Likewise, in the poem it has said that the sun, the moon, the trees, the daffodils, the musk rose, or the lovely tales and the stories which you might have read, or the bower under which you can receive a good sleep. So he is not limiting the thing of beauty. He says that it is like a endless fountain. Okay, it is endless fountain. Likewise, the fountain of, what is the fountain? The fountain of immortal drink. That is, the immortal drink is the honey or the nectar which is being poured from the edge of the heaven to the hearts of the people. So that's why he is taking the word nectar, because nectar, it always tastes sweet and sweeter. So he means to say that a thing of beauty, that means what? It will be, whenever you just think about that, or whenever you just hear about it, or whenever you just read about it, it will only gives you solace, or it will only give you a peace of mind. Yes. Well, students, so here towards the end, in the last two the lines, the poet is talking about the immortal drink. So what is the immortal drink that he talks about? So, or why he says it is the thing of beauty is like a immortal drink which is pouring unto us from the edge of the heaven. He simply mean to say that a thing of beauty, it always tastes sweeter. So means how much or however the time pass, with the passage of the time, it will be, or it will remain the same, or its beauty never fades away. So that's why the poet says that a thing of beauty is a joy forever. And moreover, he is not means the limiting the word, the thing of beauty, you know, it just comprises of too many the words, and it varies from person to person. But John Keats, as through the shepherds means the eyes, you know, he has enlisted certain the words that are means that comes under the thing of beauty. And that's all the students in the poem, and I hope that in a very simple language I just explained it to you, and you might have understood, and you just go through the textbook or means the poetry once again, definitely you will understand what a thing of beauty is. So now, well students, as in the poem certain poetic device is used, so here we will see that the different poetic device that is being means implied by the poet. So this poem somewhat, you know, we can see the rhyme scheme. And what is the rhyme scheme here? A, B, B and C, C. So how this A or B, B, C, C, how to identify this type of rhyme scheme? You just have a look at the textbook. Here you can see that in the beginning, you know, a thing of beauty is a joy forever, forever, and in the second sentence you will see that never. So that means that is A. Then in the third you see keep, then sleep, then breathing, then wraithing. So likewise, you know, if you see that the two sentence, you know, that is just been repeated. So that's why this A, B, B, C, C, that method or that poetic device is applied by the poet. And in this poem he also used certain alliterations. You see that in what are the words, you know, in which this alliteration is used, that is a noble nature, some shape, cooling, covert, then it is a flowery band to bind. So these are the some the alliteration which is used by the poet here. And the next one, that is a, you can see that on the screen, that is a metaphor. And I hope students, you know, you metaphor and the simile, you know, that is somewhat the easiest one, which almost every the child, you know, they can identify, because in examination sometimes it means during that the comprehension, that the passage, you know, you might be one question will be there. So what is the poetic device used by the poet, or identify the poetic device used. So metaphor and simile, which is frequently used, and all, so that's why that is very easy to identify. So here you see that is a metaphor. So heaven's brink, bower, quiet, sweet dreams, flowery band, unhealthy and over darkened ways, the pale dark spirits, endless fountain of immortal drink. So these are the metaphor that is used in this poem. And the next one new poetic device is introduced here in this poem, that is transferred epithet. So what is epithet? Epithet simply means, you know, that is the description of a phrase, something descriptive. So what is that epithet that is used here? That is a unhealthy and over darkened ways, gloomy days. So here the poet, you know, gloomy days means what? All the sad days. And which comes in which stanza? That comes in the second stanza. That is depression, there is dejection. We are always surrounded by in a gloomy atmosphere. The people means we live in this earth with the negativity, and there is lack of what type of people? The people who are noble in nature. So that is somewhat, that is all the description it is given. And the personification used here is the shape of beauty. And in this the poem, the poet has used some images and symbols. So what are the images that he used here? That is the bower, that is the image used here, flowery band, the sun, the moon, the trees young and old, the green world, musk rose, etc. So these are the imagery or the images which is used by the poet in order to beautify the poem. So now students, on the screen you see that this is simply some pictures, I just collected with reference to the poem, which just tell you about the thing of beauty. So what are because in the poems you came across a number of the words, or images which just described about the beautiful things. So now on the screen you just have a look, you can see that that is some watery area, that is the rills, or the streams that emerge from the mountain, and just it moves and all. So whenever a passerby, who is just walking for a long time, and if he comes across such things or such scenario in his lifetime, so that the watery area, that will soothe his mind. So that's why the poet also categorized it under the thing of beauty. The next on the screen, student, by the side you can see that that is about a shady tree, under whose shade you can see that the sheep and all, they are taking rest. So that sheep is considered, or the tree which is giving shade to the sheep. So the sheep feel very relaxed. So that is the thing of beauty. And in the next picture, the third picture, you can see about that is a musk rose. You just imagine the beauty of the flower, So whenever you just cross in the forest a long distance, and amidst the forest, when you come across such beautiful flowers, you will feel a solace, somewhat the happiness when you come across. So that's why that is also categorized under the thing of beauty. And the next one towards the end, that is regarding the sun, the moon, all those things the poet has described. So likewise, if as it is the holiday time, if you are interested, you can just come across, or you can collect such the pictures and all, which according to you is the thing of beauty. So students, that's all in the today's poetry. So well students, just towards the end, one comprehension check for you, and this the 4 questions which I prepared is totally from the last stanza. You just have a look, who are the mighty dead, and the second one, how is grandeur associated with the mighty dead, and what does the poet call an endless fountain of immortal drink, and finally the last question, what image does the poet draw in the last 2 lines. I hope the students who watched very carefully just now the explanation which I have given, you might be able to answer all the questions. So students, have a blessed day. Thank you.